Okay. All right. Well, my name is Tane Cape. I am I'm the president, it's my official title of Fairway, uh, Fairway Reverse. I don't know how many people are dropping off after I said that word. We still have the same amount of people. Good. We got Jeannie Field on the call, which you had mentioned this to me, well, that she was going to be on, and I was like, I couldn't remember this morning. I'm like, oh, cool. So it sounds like you guys know who she is, but she is a legend. She's amazing. She does training for NAR, training for um, uh, real estate agents around the country, has a YouTube channel. I happen to have the privilege of being on a couple of those, or one of those anyway. So that's been fun. Talking about the home equity conversion mortgage. How many years have you been in real estate? I mean, you talk about Doris Day and Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, that's right. I'm old, 37 and a half.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I was honored, Tane, to do. I spent a couple years with the Keller Williams office on High Bluff in Carmel Valley, Del Mar, and got to know several people that are here with us, and Stephanie and Judy Gill and stuff. And I will share that I missed them because we had a lot of fun and worked hard. But and of course, I would drop in and raid offices periodically and interrupt people. It was like the cornerstone of my being. So yeah.
Nice. Well, fill in the gaps. There's people here that know you. There's maybe some that don't, but and then those who get the recording maybe know you, maybe don't. But you're here to warm us up. You're going to share maybe story, talk a little bit about the home equity conversion mortgage, which is what we're going to share and talk about today, and how it can impact an agent's business in a positive way, in an unbelievable way.
Right? Absolutely, no question.
So anyway, Jeannie, take it away. We'll love to hear what you say.
So thank you, Tane. One of the things, my favorite things to say when I'm doing an education piece is I tell folks I still sell houses, because I do. And yeah, I'm a trainer and I speak all over the country, and I'm very honored to be able to do that. I've been, I think so this is very important. One of the greatest awards I ever received from NAR was the SRES Outstanding Achievement Award. SRES is a senior real estate specialist education component for NAR that speaks specifically to the senior marketplace. And that has been my consistent client base for years and years and years. I love when I say this. My oldest client was 104, 103 and a half. So it's close enough. And of course, my youngest client was recent, and he was 29. But it's that. But the spectrum is wide. But the most important thing that Tane knows this, and my other Fairway friends know this, is I'm profoundly passionate about the reverse mortgage, because I have personally seen it saved the lives of my clients, frankly, that had they were on limited incomes. They wanted out of where they were. One of them was in the Inland Empire, and where she was just a tough place to be. And she did not have the ability financially to buy a home using a forward mortgage, but she had a lot of equity in the house that she was selling in the Inland Empire. And I was able to get her in a spectacular home, totally improved home. And she cried, at the time. I said, just look, this is your house now, and you don't have to pay a mortgage payment. How's that feel? And I just had goosebumps. I love when that happens, because it just I go back in those memories and remember the look on someone's face when literally they know that they are safe forever. And on my YouTube channel, there's some wonderful interviews I've done with folks from Fairway on some of the concerns and myths. I decided to try to be a myth buster. Probably have a few more I should do. But the most important thing you have to remember is that we're getting old. I qualify. You also have to remember that the average age of the real estate professional is in their 60s, late 50s, early 60s. But we are an aging population. And when you look at the baby boomers, and I will share with you as an instructor on the subject, I'm going to be very straight up with you. Boomers kind of really didn't do a great job of saving and planning to be old and getting ready to retire. In fact, they pretty much suck at it. When you look at the data and you look at statistics and you realize that remember what boomers did? I mean, we were raised by the greatest generation who had to fight wars and stuff, and no way in the world were they going to hold anybody accountable. So the boomers got an opportunity to totally rebel and just do whatever they wanted. but nobody taught them how to maintain financial stability into retirement. And I look at even myself, my home, the equity in my home is my largest asset. And when you have someone like this particular person who was crying because she wasn't sure what she was going to do, and the problem was solved with a reverse mortgage purchase. She bought, and I sold 3 homes using this. She bought a home that she could have for the rest of her life, never having to pay a payment. It gave her the opportunity to explore life. She and her sister have gone on cruises, all of which she wouldn't have been able to have done on a fixed income. She wouldn't have a home at all, the end. And then the other end of the spectrum is for you as the agents is you need to start marketing to these folks because they need us. And take a look. If you're unsure of reverses, number one, you're going to have the preeminent people on to talk to you about, answer questions for you, but also go to the YouTube channel and look at some of the myths, because quite frankly, there's so much misunderstanding. And when I've had the opportunity to teach SRES in places throughout the country, and I can present on reverse, and I usually do it myself, and Tana and I talked about this, I usually do it myself, not because I can't find a reverse mortgage lender to speak on it. It's because I know enough about it, but my goal is to get the real estate professional in the room to understand it's a game changer for their client base. When you can have somebody, and this was a cool thing, and I'm always determined, when you have 3 people in a class of 40 people who didn't want anything to do with reverses, and by the end of my time with them, they said, wow, this is a game changer. I've got somebody to call this afternoon. Then that's what it should be. Because there are people out there that need you. I had another person lived across the street from me. She had limited cash. She owned her home outright, but needed some leftover cash, just money to know that if something broke, if the water heater died or the furnace died, she had the cash to be able to deal with it. And I introduced her to a lender. I wish one of you had been in my life at that time, lenders from Fairway, but it was not. It worked out okay, but I had to stay way more involved than I would have preferred. But my favorite thing is she lived across the street from me. I was in the garage. She opens her bathroom window, hollers, "Hey, Ginny, I got my money," from across the parking lot. That's what we can do, folks. When we're dealing with reverses, that's what we can do. We can help someone feel secure and safe. We can help someone buy a home. We can help someone get out of a neighborhood that might have gone south. And they don't want to stay and they have no alternative. We can help them do those things through reverse mortgages. And I'm going to ask any of you who have concerns and are unsure, reach out and ask questions and clarify. Don't prejudge and decide it's not a good thing. It is a really, really good thing for so many people. And I think of Lucy all the time in that gorgeous home. And she had a little extra money and she could 2 vacations and she could paint the red wall. She didn't want to have red walls anymore because she had cash left over. She wouldn't have had that. She would have had a house if she bought with a forward mortgage. So that's my pitch, guys. And I'm profoundly passionate, if you can't tell, about this subject, because I have personally been in the place of seeing the look on someone's face when they have the ability to be in a wonderful home without being afraid anymore of limited income. So that's what I've got. Anybody have questions for me? I'm happy to answer any of them. I'm not the lone person. I'm just a passionate real estate trainer person.
I put in the chat your YouTube channel.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah. So go subscribe and
I mean, I did one with you. I did one
Christine.
And Christine gave me the title. It's called The Care and Feeding of Your Reverse Mortgage. It was brilliant. And it was about, what do you do? What's the statement say? How do you deal with that? And then Josh Kilty and I did one together, and I, no offense meant to anyone else, he did the absolute best explanation of why a reverse costs what it costs I've ever heard anybody say, even beyond what I knew. It's not too often anymore, Tane, at this stage in my career when I didn't know that, but that did happen. And it was brilliantly stated. So there's a place to go if you're unsure, because I guarantee you with these conversations with you and Christine and Jeannie McGee and Josh, we really did deal with true issues that face first and foremost, the real estate professional has to get out of their own way and realize it's about us. It is about the individual across the table who has unlimited income and can't survive if they don't take action, or have to live in an area they don't want to live in anymore. And it's kind of that. So yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you so much. Any questions before we get rolling on the nuts and bolts here?
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for coming on and sharing all your beautiful wisdom.
My pleasure. I'm going to
Thank
drop
you.
in sometime soon and see you guys. I miss everybody.
We'd love
Maybe
it.
maybe I'll bring pizza. I'll bring pizza and
even
we'll hang
better.
out. That'd be
I
even
have
better.
chocolate if you have pizza.
I have Belgian chocolate, so I win.
Oh, you do. You do. But I have
Remember when I used to bring it to the office? Yeah. Well, now I don't share it anymore. I got to catch an airplane, guys. I'll see you. Take good care.
Have fun in Vegas.
Bye, Jeannie.
Reach out if I can do anything. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care. Right on. Well, let's get rolling here. Thank you, Jeannie. She's signing off there. She shared that story about her client. It kind of brings to mind, we all have our clients that stick in our mind, that one we don't ever forget. And I'm going to share a quick story and then we'll get rolling. But Jean Waite, she was a single widow, just lost her husband. This was probably about 7 years ago now. And her brother referred her to me because she sold her home that her and her unfortunately deceased husband built together. It was their dream retirement home. And, I live in Washington State, Puget Sound, right? Their home overlooked the Puget Sound. It's a beautiful place. But she couldn't stay there after he passed away. She had to sell the house. She sold the house and had like 280, I think it was like the number $286,000 sticks in my mind. Like that's how much cash she had. And she was convinced that she couldn't buy a house. She didn't have the income. She just thought she was going to have to go rent a condo somewhere in Seattle, which she didn't really want to do. And I had a conversation with her and I shared with her how she could buy a house, and she was, still couldn't believe it. And she'd been looking at an active adult community, 55 and over community. Some of her friends lived there. It was a dream that was way out of reach, she thought. And what ended up happening is she put her name in for one of the model homes, because after looking at the home equity conversion mortgage, what we also call the H for P, she was able to put $225,000 down on it. At that time, it was like a $550,000 home. We were waiting for a few months before. This was a Trilogy. I don't know if you guys have Trilogy where you're at. So, Shea Homes, very nice community. Model home was just so cool. She's, there were so many people that had their name on that house, right? And they picked her ultimately. She ended up getting the house. She's living her best life. It's so great. And she was able to buy that $550,000 house, $225,000 down. Never has made a mortgage payment, never had to make a mortgage payment, just pays her homeowners association dues, her taxes, her insurance. And she was so in love with the community and the activities. She told her sister about it. Her sister then ended up buying a house with her husband at the time, doing a home equity conversion mortgage. And on it goes, right? I mean, it's just when you start to look at this type of demographic and this program to fit them into this option, they get so excited. In fact, my wife and I like to hike, and Jean is in a hiking club, and we just happened to run across her 2 summers ago in her hiking club. And I won't bore you with the story, but one of their people was completely lost to going the wrong direction. We didn't know he belonged with her in the hiking club, but this guy was literally like walking the wrong direction, and he was like 3 miles away. He goes, "The parking lot's down here, right?" And we're like, "No, that's like Mount Rainier. You're never going to return." Like, so anyway, Jean is living her best life. And I hope that, what I can share with you today, you'll start to visualize and internalize how this can impact your business and also impact the people that you introduce it to. The biggest challenge with this program, and Jeannie said the words, and I made a joke, right? She said the word reverse mortgage. When you put those two together, people usually want to either punch you in the throat, they want to, run as fast as they can away from you, and they want to, have nothing to do with you ever again. And so the big fear is like, if I'm a real estate agent and I say, "Hey, your cash budget's a little tight for what you really want. Have you considered maybe a reverse mortgage? They're going to go, no. And maybe that's all they'll say, but they might say, some expletives along with that. So I'm going to share with you some not only how this particular program works, but I'm going to share with you how it can impact your business. I'm going to give you some executable ideas with bankable results. I'll give you a quick background on me, and then we'll get past that. But basically, in 2000, I started in the mortgage business in 93. Some of you may not even have been born in 93. I don't know. But I've been in the business for, 30 years now. And in 2002, I had my own mortgage company at the time, did a lot of business with financial advisors and real estate agents and referral partners like that. And my number one financial advisor, referral partner, said, Tane, you got to do these reverse mortgages. I think I'm gonna have clients that could really, could really help them and, access some extra cash using their equity. And I said, Gary, I can't. There's no way I'm going to sit down with a widow and take her home from her. Like, I have more integrity than that. And I thought you did too, man. But what are you talking about? So I started and I had a lot of respect for Gary. And he's like at the time, is a top financial advisor in the country and on his game. I'm like, man, I can't do it. And then he said, whatever, a few weeks later, have you looked into that? I think you really should look into it. It could help a lot of my clients, and I think it could help your business. And I'm like, okay. So I finally caved and I started looking at, these mortgagee letters. These are FHA insured loans. They put out these mortgagee letters. I started reading through these and I'm getting the facts. And I'm like, this isn't what I thought it was. So they actually get to keep their house. Okay. Wow. It's just like any other mortgage. Nobody loses their house, but there's a lien on their home, just like a regular mortgage. The difference is they just don't make a payment. And they don't ever have to make a payment. Oh, and they're insured in case some things go sideways. They aren't, liable and have to worry about that. So, we at that time we had to get financials audited and all this pain in the keister kind of stuff. And we ended up doing it. And first one we did, the guy had a big house, on Bay Bridge Island over here on the water. At that time, it was worth over $1 million, and there weren't very many homes around here worth over $1 million. We did a reverse for him. He took some cash out and bought a Jaguar. So that's what I thought that people do with these loans. I'm like, this is crazy. He's like, I don't care about my kids. They got plenty of money. I'm going to buy a Jaguar. I'm like, okay, whatever. So, and then anyway, long story longer, I decided this was in 2008. Anybody in the business in 08, 09, then things started. Okay, yeah, Wes, yeah, gosh, you guys you earned some thick skin. Nah, yeah, got it. So in 2009, FHA was authorized to do HECM or reverse for purchase, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. That's a great idea. I started looking into that more and really focused on referral partners, real estate agents, builders. And then in 2014, I wrote a book, W Retirement Dollars. Do not buy it on Amazon. I have not updated this. This is the second edition. You don't have to really buy it. We can get you a copy. Just email us. But the book is all about how to buy a house using the program, the first half of it, and real life stories of how people have purchased a home. And I just started focusing in 100% on the home equity conversion mortgage, really even focused more on the purchase, because I felt like there are so many people that are living in homes they've raised their kids in, right? And they're in 2 or 3 stories, maybe on a large lot. Maybe their home is has a lot of deferred maintenance, is kind of nickel and diming them. They pay a lot for, utility expenses, et cetera, but they have a ton of equity and they just don't know that they can sell their house and buy another one because they think they have to sell their house and buy the other one and pay all cash. And the reality is now they can sell their house and put, 50, 60, 70% down, depending on their age, and not have to make a mortgage payment. So they put a big chunk down, but it feels like they paid cash. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the niche of this demographic, that 62, even 55 plus home buyer and home seller that have tons of equity, and how we can have executable ideas with bankable results to go out and and work with that demographic. Anybody ever sell a house to someone in their 60s or 70s or 80s? Okay, cool. Right on. Anybody list a home from someone who has a lot of equity in their 60s, 70s, 80s? Okay. Anybody SRES, real estate agent? Okay, good. So when I say reverse mortgage, what comes to mind? This is a participation kind of deed whopper. So unmute yourself and say, Tane, you are a loser and I'm getting off this Zoom call right now. Or what is it you would say? Don't be shy. There's just a small little family of us here. Oh, Erica, I see you putting on your headphones.
For me, a reverse mortgage is always like from like the beginning of the end, right? Someone needs money and they need the finances for medical bills or something, and that's just the stigma.
Yeah. They're at the end of their rope. They can't afford to pay for their medication and heat their home, so they're sitting in a wrapped in blankets in their house, and they can't control their blood pressure or whatever because they can't afford that. So, yeah, that's the needs based. And Jeannie kind of talked a little bit more about the needs based. What's interesting is though there are people that do this loan. In fact, the probably the highest net worth. No, not probably. Definitely the highest net worth individual couple that I did. They had over $6 million in liquid assets, investable assets, and they bought at the time up in Bellevue here in Washington, a pretty expensive area. They bought like an $800,000 home. They could have paid cash for that, no problem. Why did they get a HECM for purchase? Because they understand the opportunity cost of money. They can make more money with that, and instead of having it tied up in the walls and foundation of their home. Let's see who needs to be muted. Anybody else? I did one of these a couple weeks ago, and a lot of agents were in the crowd, and they're like, evil. They're evil. They're evil. And I'm like, what? So I did even like a video and posted on LinkedIn. I'm like, reverse mortgages are evil. I go, let's change the name. Let's get rid of reverse. And I'm going to show you some ways to introduce it and talk to your clients about it without saying the word reverse. We're not trying to be, covert and, lie through omission. We're just trying to get them in conversation with your Fairway retirement mortgage specialist so that they can talk through how this works. Because if we call it something else, people will be happy to talk about it. Have you heard about that mortgage that boosts your budget, so you can purchase more home and not have to make a mortgage payment if you don't want to? What's that? You do qualify for a different type of program now that you're 62 or whatever. So we'll get into that. All right. We have an hour, is that right? So we're like ending at 11. All right. So we better get jamming here. Let me launch this little PowerPoint here. And share my screen. Okay. All right. Can you all see the home equity conversion mortgage for purchase slide? Perfect. Okay. All right. So what we're going to talk about is how to convert frustrated buyers into happy homeowners. Frustrated buyers are people that we probably all dealt with, right? Where they think they can buy a $500,000 house, and they're really looking at 700,000 or 800,000, and they can't afford it, right? They're frustrated buyers. So we're going to help convert them and then get the home they want, even though it's over their budget. And that's where the home equity conversion mortgage, or H for P, can shine. So converting those frustrated home buyers, helping unrealistic buyers get the home that they want, and get more listings from those folks that have a ton of equity, and show them how they can purchase a home without having to pay all cash for that house, or even saving some cash by using the home equity conversion mortgage. And we'll talk through some different ideas that you can take with you. We might blast through this. This is generally about an hour. We had Jeannie, and then I talked a little bit. So we're going to just kind of rip through this, and feel free, if you have questions, just fire them off. Feel free to unmute yourself. Don't be shy. If you don't say anything, I'm just going to assume that I'm super boring and this is a waste of time. So just go ahead and fire off questions. But what's the opportunity? So have you guys had any clients that have been priced out of the market that are in this sort of demographic? If you have, nod your head. Thanks, Travis, for giving me a little feedback. Yes, I have. Are you working with anybody that has said, hey, I want to buy a house for, what's the median price home in your area? Anyone?
Probably about $1 million.
Million bucks. Okay. So they're looking for a $700,000 home, and the house they really want is $1 million, right? How many of those people have you tried to help, but you just can't, right? I've got cash for 700. I'm pre-qualified for a mortgage up to 700. I'm 65 years old. Those people are our sweet spot that we can introduce the home equity conversion mortgage for, or two. So, when in my career, I've always tried to really zero in and focus on niches. For years, I was like a VA mortgage guy. That was my thing. And then equity management strategies focused on high-end borrowers, doctors, professionals, doctors, attorneys, that sort of thing. And then I really started focusing on this demographic, and there is some advantages to dominating a market. And so with the home equity conversion mortgage, I just dominated my market in that. And the reason I would, hopefully you'll get from this this talk is that you notice that the slide shows that there's over $12 trillion right now in home equity that retirees are sitting on. Many of them own their houses free and clear. And there's 15 million people that fit into our niche that are 62 and over. And it's the largest asset class. When you look at financial management firms, we've got Fidelity, Vanguard, and BlackRock. We have 12 trillion. BlackRock, I don't even know if it's at 10 trillion now with the market adjusting, but we have more assets in terms of a dollar amount than any of these individual companies, which is really incredible. So when you start to focus on this niche, start to think about the people in your market area that have been in homes for 20, 30 years, and they have tons of equity, even like where you guys are at. I mean, the market's cuckoo bird. So, there's lots of equity. And so definitely a huge market. Why do people want to move in retirement? Well, they want to be closer to family. That's really code for they want to be closer to their grandchildren. You might be working with millennials, Gen Xers that you sold homes to. Ask them the question, where are your parents? I know you guys have kids. Are grandma and grandpa around? Oh yeah, they live, in whatever, Orange County, or they live in, down the street, or no, they live in Kansas and they'd love to move out here, but there's no way they could afford it, Oh, really? Maybe there is, right? Maybe there is. But the biggest reason people want to move is because they want to be closer to family. Reduce home expenses. A lot of times these older homes that they've been living in, like I said, have deferred maintenance. It's costing them a lot of money to heat and cool, all that kind of thing. Okay. So, last year, approximately 4.2 million baby boomers moved homes. Some of them downsized, about half, a little more than half downsized to a smaller home. Most of them sold a home to purchase another. I mean, the majority of the time, people need to capture that equity to sell their home to buy another one. So wouldn't that be nice? Get a listing for $1 million, sell a home for $1 million. And that's what you can do when you have this particular market in mind. That $1 million home seller doesn't know that they can sell their house and pay cash for the next house. Maybe they're a $800,000 home seller, and everything they're looking at or really want is $1 million, and they're laying in bed at night awake thinking there's no way we can do this. And then you come in and you say, have you ever thought about selling your house? Yeah, but there's no way we could sell it for enough to purchase another one. Homes are too expensive. Well, you could actually sell your house and buy another one using this program. Why don't we talk about that? I can show you how that works. And I worked with a number of agents, one in particular here in my market area. She did that all the time, and we would do tons of business. So this is the pie chart. This was done by More Freedom, New Choices in Merrill Lynch, combination of a survey they did for retirees. They're like, how many of you are planning on moving? 37% have already moved in retirement. They're probably not people on our target, right? But 27% have not yet moved, but they anticipate moving. And 36% don't anticipate moving. Well, I would say that if you were to combine these two, the majority of these 36% just don't know what they don't know. They don't know they can sell their house and buy another one using a product like the home equity conversion mortgage, where they can put 60% down and not have a mortgage payment. instead of paying 100% down. So that of that 12 million, we're looking at about 7.56 or 12 trillion, 7.56 trillion in home equity that we have access to. And you are all in a, in a great market for this, because there's a lot of older folks that have a lot of equity that would like to sell their home if they knew that they could, to afford another one. So what are the advantages? If you look at a traditional mortgage, and someone buying a home using a 20% down payment, we know that they can get a conventional mortgage to do that all day long. 7.2% interest is probably a little bit low today. But you're having you're having a mortgage payment of $4,080 per month, and you're, going to pay 1.4 plus million over the next 30 years in principal and interest payments. As a 65-year-old, if you can think forward, some of you are very young on this call. If you can think forward to be 65, do you want to have a mortgage payment, $4,000 a month mortgage payment when you're retired? Most people don't. Most people want to make memories. They want to spoil their grandkids. They want to travel. They don't want to be tied down to a mortgage payment. So they're stuck in their home, and that's all they know. And qualifying is difficult, right? I mean, Fairway LOs on the call, you guys know it's hard to qualify someone that has $3,000 a month Social Security and pension income to qualify for $4,000 mortgage payment. That math doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. The other way, of course, is to pay all cash, and that's an option. But then all $600,000 in this example would be to pay all cash. It's all tied up in the home. They don't have a lot of times any extra money. Most people, like Jeannie had talked about, have not done a great job in saving for retirement. Now there's this third way, and this, think about this third way of buying a house. Now I can buy a house, or our clients can buy a house using this H4P loan. On a $600,000 home, they need about $385,000, give or take, maybe a little bit more depending on their age, and have a $200,000 plus loan amount that does not require any mortgage payments as long as they live in the home. So let me just share with you how this works, because some of you might be thinking, okay, they're not making a mortgage payment, they have a loan amount, how does this work? So if you can see my hands, buy a $600,000 home, right? Purchase price. Now they're going to put, let's say, $300,000 down. So half. Now they're not going to make a mortgage payment. Every month that balance is going to go up a little bit. So that balance is going to go up based on the interest charged on the loan. Well, at the same time, we know in your market area, homes have been appreciating historically. We can even say 4%. That value is going to go up while that mortgage balance is going up. So in theory, you're going to have this balance grow along with the value of the house. So you have, depending on what rates are, equity could expand into the future, or if it starts to catch up, if it catches up and that mortgage amount is greater than the value of the house. Let's say now the house stayed at 600,000 and that mortgage over time kept growing, and now they owe 700, but the value stayed the same at 600. They sell for 600 and they owe 700, that extra 100,000. What happens? Nothing happens. Nothing happens, right? That 100,000 is not something that the home seller needs to cover. If they pass away, the home seller obviously is gone. The kids or the estate inherits this home. They don't have to pay that 100,000. What happens if you get a listing and that's a scenario plays out? The house is really worth 600 and they owe 700. Are your commissions covered? Yes. There's FHA insurance on these loans. The buyer pays the FHA insurance up front, and a little bit goes on the loan every month, so that the privilege of never having to owe more on their house than what they can sell it for. If they're underwater or upside down, right? It's some of you may have done commercial deals. It's a non-recourse loan. There's no personal liability on these loans. And that honestly was the thing back in 2002, when I read the FHA mortgagee letters. I'm like, okay, this insurance makes sense, because I would not want to, my clients' kids after they passed away coming to me and with pitchforks and torches at my front door, right? We want to make sure that they're covered and protected. And so make sure we understand that FHA insurance there protects your buyers, protects your sellers, protects our borrowers, right? And their estate. Any questions on that? Because that's a key concept to understand, so that we know we're not, leaving our clients high and dry, that they're protected. Okay, great. Back to sharing my screen here. Okay, great. So I want to introduce you to Mary Lynn Knowles. Mary Lynn Knowles is an agent in North Carolina. She helps a lot of people in that 62 plus demographic. About a third of her clients actually use and take advantage of the home equity conversion mortgage. So I'm going to share with you how she introduces a cash buyer, this to cash buyers. Why would we have our cash buyers even talk to a lender? Well, this would be one reason, right? And I'll share that with you in a minute. Optimize video for sound. Okay.
But one of the questions I'll ask my buyer is, are you looking in this price point because you want to pay
Whoops.
cash for a house? And if the answer is yes, and they're in our Charlotte market in the low 200s, you can't find anything for 2, but you could put down 2 and not have a house payment. So that changes their world. It allows them to buy in a safer community, maybe a community that they enjoy living in more. It is a life and game changer, not only for the buyer, but for their children, because the children are worried, where's mom going to go? Is she going to be in a safe area? She doesn't have, am I going to have to buy a house for mom? Well, not now. Not now, you don't. So, and then once you explain how the impact on their cash flow is so much better. Even if it's a couple, somebody is going to go first, and life insurance, and Social Security is going to change. It doesn't impact that person's ability to stay in their own home.
Right.
It's amazing. It's a great product.
So a couple things that are really quick. Let me move back here. There we go. She touches on, you can't buy anything for 2. This was obviously done a few years ago, right? So in your market, you can't buy anything for 6 or 700,000, but you can put down 6 or 700,000 and buy $1 million, right? And not only that, she takes a look at the kind of the whole picture. She knows that someone's going to go first. Generally speaking, it's usually the man, right? If it's a husband and wife, it's usually the male. Guys on the call, statistically, it just works out that way. So if her husband passed away, generally speaking, also, he's probably worked a little more during his life. Again, with this demographic, that's generally the case. He's probably got higher Social Security. She's going to lose hers. She'll get his, but still the income will come down. The kids don't have to worry about mom. Mom's going to be safe in a house and not have to make a mortgage payment. And they get to buy a house in a safer neighborhood in a place that they really want to enjoy. I want to enjoy the last quarter of my life, right? In a house that I want to live in. I don't want to live in a single wide mobile home down by the river, right? I don't think many people do. And so this allows that cash buyer to get the home that they really want. So this slide just shares with you, with these loans, they're based on age. Think of it as life expectancy. So if I'm a 90-year-old and I want to buy a house, you can buy a house and put down a lot less money than a 62-year-old, right? So this is kind of a gauge, a little bit of what you can expect. 65% down for a 62-year-old. It's really rate dependent and age dependent. So as rates have crept up, 18 months ago, we would have been a 62-year-old would have been about more like 55% down. Okay. So these numbers are changing. These will obviously improve when the Fed pivots, and we'll start to see these come down. But we still have people that we talk to that are in their 60s, and they're like, well, I have to put 70% down. That's still better than 100%. Sounds like a good program, right? So even though you might think, gosh, that's almost like paying cash, you might as well pay cash. Well, that 30% extra, that's a big deal for a lot of people. If they can retain 100,000 or 200,000 in cash and put that in their savings account or investment account versus putting it all in the house and still have no mortgage payment, it's a huge win. And this is where the referrals really start to come in, right? This is where Jean Waite refers her sister. Like, you got to check this out. Like, you can buy a dream home out here in this 55 plus community, hang out with me, we can do our thing and use this program called TANE, right? Back in the day. So more transaction, helping more people. So people use this to downsize. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. They'll downsize, buy a lower priced home from the home they're selling, keeping more cash on hand, or they can upsize, afford more of a home than they could normally afford using cash or a conventional loan, right? So they can downsize to a lower priced home or upsize to a higher priced home. And I'm not going to get into the details here for time's sake, but you guys get that, right? Buy more of a home or save more cash, downsize to a lower price home or upsize. The qualifications are they have to be at least 62, only one person. So if you have a client that's 62 and they're married to, and their spouse is, 55, it's not going to be a favorable dollar amount that they get from the loan size, because we're going to base the calculation on that 55-year-old, and it'll be much more money down than if they're married to someone the same age as 62, but it still can work. When we say an FHA qualified home, let's just don't be afraid of FHA when it comes to the home equity conversion mortgage. A lot of times agents go, oh my gosh, the seller's never going to accept an FHA. They will accept an FHA, home equity conversion mortgage. The only main thing that compares to regular FHA is the insurance. There's insurance on this loan, and it protects, if that balance exceeds the market value. But we can't have I don't know, what's a non-qualified home? A home on stilts, a dome home on stilts, a tree house, whatever. So the idea. So they've got to live in the house. They've got to occupy the house as their primary residence. 6 months. We have people in Washington that have a house, then they have a second home in Arizona or California. That's totally fine. Their main property has to be the one with the home equity conversion mortgage on it. They don't have to make payments, but they can if they want. Maybe they do want to make payments. They want to keep that balance from going up. They can. And then they can access that money, whatever they put into this loan, they can access back out in the form of a line of credit with no monthly mortgage payments ever. So it can be a really interesting way to manage cash flow, manage taxes. Again, for the sake of time, I'll let you connect with your Fairway LO, and you guys can chat about how that works. But as far as qualifying, we don't need a lot of income because we don't have a huge mortgage payment. We just have taxes and insurance and HOA. Now, in your case, you guys, what's the tax, the proposition, Prop 13, but now they can move and keep that tax rate with them, correct? Right? So I can't remember what that is, but be aware, some of your sellers may not know that. You can educate them on that. Just kind of came to mind. Credit, we don't look at credit scores, but we look at payment history. If they have extenuating circumstances, a lot of times we see people where their spouse was, gravely ill, maybe they had cancer, they just stopped paying payments or mortgage payments. We can get around that. But for argument here, credit is really the last 2 years. We need to have decent payment history. But again, we can excuse a lot of through extenuating circumstances like death of the spouse or illness. Hey, this is just like any other mortgage, right? Nobody loses their house. You keep the title. The homeowners keep the title. It is a regular mortgage. It just doesn't require mortgage payments. So when they go to pay off the house, and the loan is due and payable when the last borrower moves out of the home permanently. So let's say husband and wife, husband passes away, wife doesn't have to do anything. It's still her home. She doesn't have to make a mortgage payment. When she passes away, then the kids will get the house or the estate, and they'll deal with the house. If there's equity in the house, it's their equity. If there's no equity, they just sort of let the bank, the servicer, deal with it and pay off the house by selling it. Okay. Again, they're never owe more on the house than what they can sell it for. Eligible properties 1 to 4, manufactured, double, even single wide homes. You guys don't do single mobile homes, do you? Okay, good. But anyway, you can do this if you want. Condos, they have to be FHA approved. Make sure we check the HUD website, make sure they're FHA approved. We have a dedicated person. So all she does is approve condos, and she's really good. So in the rare case where it's not approved and they really, really want that condo, we can look into that and see how realistic it is to get that approved. PUDs, townhouses, properties in a trust, living trust, or revocable even. So a lot of these people have trusts and that sort of thing. We do not allow, FHA does not allow seller concessions. We're starting to see maybe some of that in your market. I don't know. No lender credits, no realtor credits. We can't have them paying for closing costs, buying down the rates, etc. So if you sell a new construction, for example, that builder, we run across this a lot, especially in this market. Builder says, hey, use our lender, it's $15,000. a lot of times a client will be exposed to this program. You know what? I'm not going to do that 15,000. This is way more valuable for me. And a lot of times their lender isn't going to have this program nor know how to put it together. My wife has a deal going in Florida right now. That's the case. They forego forego, is that right? $3,000 in concessions from the builder and another 15,000 to use their lender. No thanks. We're going to do this. So keep that in mind as you're looking at new construction, especially. Any questions on that? Okay. If you do, fire away. What are the benefits? Well, buying a house in the 55 plus community, a lot of times they want to play pickleball all day and they don't want to walk very far to go play pickleball, right? So there you go. Built-in pickleball course right in their backyard. Increased purchasing power. We talked about that. No monthly mortgage payments. Moving closer to family. Purchasing a home. Again, 40 to 70% down. I just got an email yesterday from our person who runs our processing department. Closed a purchase in 11 days. Wow. Can you imagine an FHA reverse mortgage closing in 11 days? A purchase transaction? That's crazy. So anyway, pretty incredible. So what are some executable ideas? First of all, how do you introduce this to your home sellers and home buyers, particularly your home buyers? So let's take a look. I'm going to optimize this. Mary Lynn goes into how she introduces it.
So how do you introduce the program? It sounds like you've already kind of touched on that a little bit, like, asking if they pay cash or they're paying cash, and then but how do you sort of bridge that, hey, there's this great program, and people might be going, are you crazy? What do you mean? So how do you do that?
Well, so if you're my client, I would say, are you asking for this price point because of, or let's talk about ways that you want to finance your house. And we have to talk about that anyway. So it's very simple for me to ask, by the way, are you familiar with that senior mortgage or the 62 plus mortgage? No. Is this that terrible reverse mortgage that I've heard everything about? Well, it's like a cleaned up distant cousin. It has some similarities, but nobody loses their house and you still own your house like any other mortgage. It's a mortgage. But it has some things that are specially designed for our seniors so that they can stay in their house and have more cash.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to you about it. It all comes out in the numbers of whether it's good for you or not. But a well-informed buyer is a better buyer. Let's just talk about it. That's all I say.
Yeah.
And then I send the information off and then, let the loan mortgage, the loan officer handle it if they have any more questions.
I love that. I love that.
All right. I wasn't able to see your faces when I optimized for sound, but what was your reaction? Like, did that make sense? Like, how do you get around if someone goes, was that dirty, mean, old, nasty reverse mortgage I've heard everything about? Mary Lynn, I loved you, but now I don't like you anymore, right? Why are you talking to me about that? And this is a serious matter. Like, people really have a friggin' mental issue with reverse mortgages. And there's reason for that, because back in the day when they first, came out, before FHA got involved, lenders would participate or take or recapture that equity, right? Or they'd force grandma out of the house. I mean, there's some nasty business going on that's still kind of carried forward. Well, that's not the case at all anymore. And what she's trying to say is this is kind of a cleaned up distant cousin. Well, she's from the South, right? So she's bringing the cousin thing in. But you get the idea. I love the fact that she says, listen, she's kind of giving them permission to reject, right? As a salesperson, we always want to share with our client, you have the right to reject this, no big deal. But a well-informed buyer is a better buyer. Let's just talk about it. See if it's right for you. A well-informed buyer is a better buyer. What does that do to the buyer? Well, if she said that to me, I'm going to think, subconsciously, well, I want to be a well-informed buyer. Yeah, I'm a better, right? Like, you don't want to be left out not knowing. So let's look at it, right? Let's share the option with them. And honestly, it's our fiduciary responsibility as lenders and agents that if we know it exists, we have to say, hey, I don't know if you heard about this program for people that are retired, 62 plus. It helps you boost your budget. You don't have to make payments if you don't want to. Definitely I would suggest looking into it. It may not be right for you, but hey, look into it. Well, when we share it with them, they're like, 9 times out of 10, we show them the option and they're like, well, why isn't everybody doing this? Do a lot of people do this? How many people have done this? how come I haven't heard about this before? That's what they say all the time. And you're like, well, it has a bit of a negative connotation, and now that you know the truth and you know that it could be right for you, let's go, right? So hopefully that's helpful. Again, Mary Lynn, third of her clients use the program. She shared a story with me really quick. We got 9 minutes left. She shared a story with me, and I want you to get the idea of the potential of the home equity conversion mortgage. So she had a client that lived in the Charlotte area. She sold a home to. This was, several years ago. Then they came back to her and said, hey, Mary Lynn, we want to buy another house. Well, he wants to buy another house here. And well, she wants to move to Florida, right? You know the deal. So now you're a marriage counselor. And she's like, okay, so you want to sell your house here in Charlotte, you want to buy it, but you want to stay here because all your buddies and you play golf here and you don't want to go to Florida, but she wants to go to Florida. Okay, how can we keep this marriage together and solve the problem? And she said, well, why don't we sell your house here? We'll have enough cash to put you into the home that you want here to downsize or right size your home, that single level, blah, blah, blah. And you'll have, if you use the home equity conversion mortgage, you're going to have extra cash available so you can buy a second home in Florida. And they're like, okay, show us the numbers. Puts them in touch with the lender. They run the numbers, they show everything in detail, and they're like, yeah, we can make this work. And you won't have a mortgage payment on the house here, and you'll have a small mortgage payment. I can't remember if they pay cash, but anyway, the numbers work. So my point here is Mary Lynn got a sale from the listing. She did a purchase in her backyard and then got a referral for the Florida deal. So she had 3 transactions that she got paid on from one client. Now, if you've ever heard of, I don't think anybody's hand went up on an SRES, but what they teach you is they don't teach you this stuff at an SRES certification class. What they do is they tell you, go after the 90-year-old that can't live in their house anymore, spend 8 months with them trying to figure out how to get rid of all their stuff and working with their kids, and then help them, sell their house so they can move to assisted living. Hey, that's very noble and a great idea if that's what you want to do, if that's your calling, right? Hey, you could still do that, but what if you work with the 62 plus to say 78 or 80-year-old? We've had 82, 85-year-olds buy houses, no problem. That where they want to keep, they want to downsize or move to a different home. There's opportunity to do 2 transactions, sometimes 3. And then when they're in their 90s and you're still in the business and they want to sell their home, you can help them. So that 62 plus client is just on their own potentially worth 4 transactions, not counting the referrals that will come from the life-changing opportunity you presented them with, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, cool. All right, we're closing in. I want to have, I'm not going to go through this. It just kind of breaks down what Mary Lynn talked about. A well-informed buyer is a better buyer. Let's talk about it. It's like any other mortgage. Nobody loses their house. So I would encourage you, we can get you a copy of this, but this is a realtor cheat sheet that I would use. It talks about what is a HECM, how does it work? Pamela, you got your hand raised. Feel free to ask away.
I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I just have a quick question. I find this is such great news. I just wish I would have known about a month ago. I have a family that moved out here, purchased a condo at a 55 plus community, and I think we qualified them for a conventional loan. But could they possibly still get into something like this? I mean, they're actually just still moving into the condo as we speak.
Mm-hmm. How
hard would it be, or is it even possible for them to convert their current loan into something like this?
Yeah, certainly. If they have the equity qualifications, right, and the numbers work, they could refinance a conventional mortgage and pay that off using the home equity conversion mortgage, eliminate the mortgage payment. If they're short to close, in other words, the home equity conversion mortgage is not enough to cover the mortgage balance, they might have to bring cash in, but that could be worth it to eliminate that mortgage payment. So yes, the answer is yes, 100%. They can do that.
They fit the exact story. I mean, they moved out here because, their family's out here, and but the mortgage payment's a little. They can still do it on a fixed income, but it leaves them very short on cash. So I was thinking this would be something that would be ideal. So
Yeah.
maybe I can have Simone or somebody run the numbers for us and see.
Sure.
I mean, can you get, do they have to be in this loan for a certain amount of time before they can finance out of it, or?
Pam, why don't we talk after the call on this?
Okay, sounds good. Okay,
Right on. So there's a couple
thank
of,
you.
yes, thanks for the question. It's a great question. You may think too, some of you on the that heard that question may have past clients that you could call and help. Maybe they're, hey, is this your forever home? I do want to get some of that in. So there's a couple of pieces of collateral. The realtor cheat sheet, we can get you a copy of this. This helps to understand how the program works if you need a refresh. What's allowed, fees and important information, what's allowed, what's not allowed on a purchase transaction. We have the 62 plus home buyers guide, which is about a 24-page kind of magazine size home buyers guide for home buyers to educate them. Another good piece. So those are things for those LOs in total expert if you don't have it handy. I want to get to some bankable results. One of the things I would suggest, call your past clients, talk to them about their insurance. Hey, and home prices are up, construction costs are up. Do you have enough insurance? Check, now's a good time to check in with your homeowner's insurance agent and just get a checkup, see if you have enough coverage, God forbid, and then do an oh, by the way, or out of curiosity. Hey, out of curiosity, is this your forever home? This would be for clients that are over 62, ideally. If they're under 62, out of curiosity, I know you have children. Where's grandma and grandpa? Where are your parents at? They live around here, right? So it might spur that conversation with them. So older clients, talk to them about the insurance. Younger clients, talk about insurance. But it's just a way to kind of get a reason to call, and then just say, out of curiosity, is this your forever home? Or you ever consider buying another one? And they're going to say, well, actually, we'd love to buy another one, but we don't have enough money if we sell this house to pay cash for another house. We don't want a mortgage payment. We don't have one now, whatever, right? So you get into that conversation. So that's an idea. The other thing you can do is reconnect with those buyers that you were not able to help that are in that demographic, right? Those people in your round file or your, archive drawer, whatever you call it. Find those people and see if you can have that conversation with them, right? They're priced out of the market. Maybe they were looking at a market that was really in that very competitive, and they're competing with people they couldn't win the offer. Maybe they can increase their price point and be in a less competitive market using the home equity conversion mortgage. Listen, farming for listings is a great way. Work with your title company. You guys all know how to do that. And find people who have been in their homes for a long time. See if they can overlay it with age and they have a lot of equity, right? And now you can, invite them to a webinar. Strategically, some of you may or may not have ever done this, but door knocking. I have an agent that did this near me, and she would get listings and then a sale. And I don't know, she did this for a few years, and we did a number of transactions that way. Postcards, working with your Fairway Retirement Mortgage Specialist loan officer to help work with you on that, get some traction to target this audience. And again, I talked about the 3 potential deals. So sorry, I'm going fast. I know I just want to honor the time. Talk to the millennial buyers. Where are your parents? Where's grandma and grandpa, right? Make sure you have that conversation. So think about this. Who do you know? Pamela had someone that she just closed a sale on, but still might be able to help. Who do you know that you might be able to help that might be in the situation where they don't have enough cash to pay all cash? Maybe their budget is tight. Maybe they don't qualify for a conventional mortgage for as much as they'd like. These are all opportunities. And then certainly connect with your Fairway loan officer that invited you. So we're right at the top of the hour. Sorry for the speed round there, but hopefully that was helpful and you guys can get an idea of how this can work for your business.
Hey, Tane, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The major pushback that I get whenever I talk to someone is it comes from the kids, actually. They're scared that they're going to eat up all of their inheritance and their equity in the home, and they obviously the reverse word, all that kind of stuff. Can you give some advice, or how would you go about that? Because that's been my pushback, is that either they want to leave a free and clear house to their kids, or they're scared. The kids are like, that's a terrible idea, because they can see their equity going away when they sell the house when the parents pass away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's a tough one, right? The kids are greedy and they don't care about mom and dad. Mom and dad want to have a house that they want to live in and they don't want to have a mortgage payment, but they also want to leave money to their kids. So what you can do is you can share with them if they go to sell a house and capture that equity instead of paying all cash for that house, they can put some of that money that they have left over and move that into an investment vehicle, maybe a life insurance policy, maybe a guarantee. So you can have those kinds of conversations with them and also show them the equity position over time, what it really looks like. Like in reality, there's probably going to be equity left when they pass away. And so they'll have cash over here and equity in the home. They might have a lot less cash in equity in the home, but they can have the combination of the two be equal or more than. So that's the conversation I have. My experience with the kids is most of the time they're like, hey, mom and dad, that's cool. But maybe different in your area. Maybe the kids are more greedy and they just don't care about mom and dad. Anyway, my experience has been the parents are like, our kids are doing so much better than we are. They're making, 800 grand a year and they got $20 million houses and geez, they're fine. But to answer your question, you just start to let's have a conversation with the kids. If this is something you really want to do, let's talk about a way that you can have your cake and eat it too. Right. And if you need to bring in your financial advisor, we can have that conversation and then just explore the option. And financial advisor going, yeah, we can put you into this vehicle and you can have that much rate of return. And then the financial advisor is going to win. Right. So I just try to pull out all the stops when the kids try to kill the deal. Yeah. So I don't know if that's helpful or not. Yeah, Jay.
Hi, piggybacking on Travis's question. So, am I understanding this correctly? So if the house is worth 600,000 and when parents pass away and the kids inherit the home and there's $500,000 left in the loan balance and there's 100,000 equity. So it's just like a traditional loan with them having a trust in the property, so that property would just go directly to the kids and then they could sell the property and then get the 100,000 equity.
Yes, 100%. You got it.
And vice versa, if they owe less, if the house is worth less, $100,000 less, and the parents pass away, now the kids have an option to buy it for 100,000. Is that correct?
The kids have an option to buy it for 95% of the appraised value. So yeah. So there is a bit of a discount that they get to offset, the sales expenses that the lender would have to go through. But yeah, so if they owe 600 and the house is worth 5, that's the appraised value, then they would get it for 95% of that 500.
95%. Okay.
Yeah.
And probate's avoided,
well, I don't know anything about that. Yeah, I don't know. If you have a trust, and my understanding is that probate can be either avoided or sped up, but I'm not, that you're in California, man. It could probably take 10 years before they get that house. Washington's the same way. It's crazy.
And then last one, it's not limited to a 55 and above community.
Oh no.
Okay.
Any home will qualify. Yeah. Just use that as an example. But yeah, good question. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, Tane, but I had a comment. I really liked that your realtor shared that she opened it with her clients that, hey, have you heard of that program that's designed for seniors? Because right now we're getting a lot of, do you have a program for this? A firefighter, a nurse, a first responder, and just kind of another unique way to bring it up and say, hey, it's a loan for seniors.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. I think you're right on. I think it's a great way to introduce it. I would not use the word senior personally. Okay. The reason I wouldn't is because seniors don't think they're seniors, right? Like I went to Goodwill to get this little plant over here. I don't know if you can see it now. It's off camera. It's just like a fake little thing. And the guy goes, "How old are you?" I'm like, she goes, "How are you 55?" And I go, "Well, that depends." And she said, "Well, you get a discount." I'm like, "Okay." I don't think of myself as getting a senior discount. I'm not like, I'm 57, right? I'm like, great, freaking rip around my mountain bike. I'm not a senior, So And if you've ever heard of Dan Kennedy, he's a marketing genius. He wrote a book, Marketing to Boomers and Seniors. Dan Kennedy, I think it's like Marketing to Baby Boomers and Seniors. And seniors don't want to be called seniors. That's one of his main takeaways. They want to, they don't, boomers, they don't want to talk about boomers, but just say, hey, have you heard of that program for people that are retired or almost retired, 60 plus, 62 plus? I would use those kind of words, not senior. Because if you use senior on me, I'm like going to go, oh, wow, that sucks.
Good point. Yep.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Anything else before we sign off? No, we're a little over time, but appreciate the questions.
Thank you, Tane. I think this was really valuable for all of us on the call.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I'm really excited about it, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to hear more about it too. And I think you guys all know how to reach out to either Travis, Wes, or myself. We're excited to get rocking and rolling with you.
Yeah, right on. Well, I would, my parting words would say, definitely focus on this demographic. It's ignored. People don't know how to, you're dealing with SRES agents that are thinking they're looking for that last, move. And these are active adults. They're people that are, wanting to buy their dream retirement home and don't know that they can. And you've got the good news. So right on. Well, thanks everybody. Enjoy your sunny weather. I'm sure you're having down there. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome,
Have a
man.
great day.
Appreciate it.
Take care. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.